Inshallah, we have a very special guest today, Brother Suhaib Al Barjinji, who is the artist behind all these beautiful works that are on the wall. And inshallah, he's going to be talking to us about some of the inspiration behind his work and some of the meaning and some of the depth and also his journey. And Brother Suhaib is an artist, film director, writer, and where he explores the unique and contentious fusion of cultures, traditions, and worldviews that are redefining what it means to be human today. His art reflects his hybrid identity of having Muslim and Arab roots and being American in upbringing. These sometimes seemingly contradictory realms, spiritual versus material, communal versus individualistic, are reflected in Suhaib's attempts to create original and thought-provoking pieces, as be they interpretations of Quranic verses, reflections on the purpose of life, or creation of a new, more expressive form of calligraphy reflecting the increasingly integrated world we live in. So he was the author of a book titled Towards an Islamic Model in Mass Media Communication, which proposes a framework for cinema and art stemming from a non-Western centric worldview. In 2016, he established the non-profit Barzinji Prize Foundation. The foundation seeks to uplift creative voices from diverse communities across the globe by awarding prizes for excellence in art and literature. So he lives here in the Adams community with his wife and 3 sons. And professionally works in the field of international development. So without any further ado, Brother Barzinji.
Thank you, Brother Omar. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum to all of you. First, I want to thank Adams for making this exhibit possible, especially Selson and Ali. This place has changed dramatically since they came on board and took things in hand. So my art's been up here since this the first day of Ramadan, so it's been a couple of months here. And inshallah, I try to put a little descriptive pieces, what each piece means to me. And I'd like to talk a bit more about why certain styles I use and certain concepts and certain series that I implement in my art, inshallah. So I'll start with that. And then the next part of discussion will be about, what it means to be an artist and how, one gets inspired to be an artist. And after that, I want to talk about the Hamdanama comic contest. This is something that I'm very much part of right now, and I'm trying to get the word out and have spread. And ultimately, I was talking to some of the Adams people. We'd like to see or get a feel for if there's enough people interested in starting like a fine arts club, for painting, for music, or for drama, and so on. So at the end, it's a work in progress. If there's enough people interested, inshallah, we could go down that route. So I'm not a trained artist. So it's everything that I've done. Things that I just slowly picked up techniques and approaches and finding different ways to express myself over the past couple of decades. I think that the first thing I drew was with colored pencil, this piece over here. And I say it's 2004, so it must have been 2004 when I first started. So about 20 years I've been doing art. And alhamdulillah, people have encouraged me throughout the years, and they admired what I've been doing, and this, of course, helped me go on and do more art, and then start to exhibit, and then start to sell the art, and slowly, bit by bit, I was able to have confidence enough to start turning out the pieces as I envision them, as I see them. So let me start first by talking about the different influences or different ideas behind my art. So there's one series called the Sacred Letter series. Like this piece here, and this piece over here. So the idea behind the Sacred Letter series is that it reflects who we are as American Muslims as a community. So when we come to write something in the Latin alphabet, in Latin letters, each letter is disconnected. They stand alone, they're very individualistic, they're stoic, they face the world on their own. And that pretty much defines sort of the secular humanist worldview, where it's man against the world. man alone, prove themselves, and so on. Whereas where we come from, we originate from as Muslims, as Arabs, or South Asians, or we come from a society where always the words are connected. Every word is formed by connecting different letters. So it's not the individual that creates a whole. It's only through a connection with community, with family, through tribe, do we have meaning. Does, do we have beauty? Do we really, exist as part of a beautiful whole? So how do we reflect our lifestyles here, where we're both individualistic, plus we have our roots in the old world? So my idea was to create a new form of calligraphy where all the letters are separate. So this one is Jalla Jalaluhu. So the Jim, and then the Lam, the Alif, the Lam, and the Ha. They all stand alone, stoic. But then when you start putting them on top of one another, you see a word that forms, Jalaluhu. And then we're individualistic, but when we are together, when we combine our efforts, we create a more beautiful whole. So, like here in Jalla Jalaluhu, here it says Al-Hayy, which is sort of the meaning behind this painting, where in every drop that's coming down from heaven, there's the essence of Allah Ta'ala. Al-Hayy is one of the 99 names of Allah. So essentially his essence in every drop, and through that you create life all over the planet. So, and another part of the series is this other one. This is in the form of an orchid. So it's an alif, and the lam, and the lam, and the ha. It says Allah, but also it's in the form of one of Allah's creation, which is the orchid. It's pretty abstract, but this is like the flower, and this is the things that come out of the flower, the pollen. So that's one series I'm trying to develop, because calligraphy traditionally has been sort of the Islamic way of art. When you think Islamic art, a lot of people think calligraphy, and unfortunately over the many, many centuries, calligraphy has been sort of taken away from its accessibility, has been reduced. It used to be common, for everyone to read and write. Now it's a very formal, there's gatekeeping, there's formal, not everyone can practice calligraphy. Even if you start practicing calligraphy, people will tell, well, that's the wrong style. You have to have a sheikh, you have to, get ijazah and so on. So our only one precious form of creating art over the centuries has been taken away from the common person and being regulated to something institutional, something where it's very controlled and very formal. So one of my aims is to create a calligraphy style, or open up calligraphy for everyone. No one says calligraphy has to happen exactly like when it happened during, the peak of the Ottoman era. Calligraphy is everyone's. So start producing calligraphy in a way that expresses our contemporary lives, our ideas, and the challenges we face. Because again, calligraphy is a sacred art form for us. So that's one form of art that I did. Another form is just the basic geometrical designs expressing sort of the unity of the universe, the unity of the divine, the beauty of creation, the comprehensiveness of creation. So I have a couple of pieces that I attempt to express that in them. So always in the middle there is the divine, Allah Ta'ala, the creator. And then you have the different levels of saints and angels, and different levels of, heavens are expressed through a lot of this geometric design type of art. So again, I have a couple of pieces. This is one big piece that I have also doing the geometric design. Another series that I really enjoy doing is one called my city series. So if you look at this one here, I don't know if you can see it, this is representing Istanbul. I have another one representing Fez, this one. I have another one representing Srinagar. Another one representing Sana'a. I have Egypt, I'm working on Baghdad now. So the idea is these cities are, and I've been to all these cities, and they're so vibrant, they're full of life and energy, and from their smells to the crowdedness to the noises. Just, to me, they seem like they're alive, all these cities. So I try to capture each city in a particular point in time. This city here, Istanbul, for me, if you read the description about it, it's at the point of time when the Khalifa, the last Khalifa, is standing in his palace in Topkapi, one of the last Khalifas, in Topkapi Palace, overlooking the Bosphorus, the Galata Bridge, and everything, it's the night before Eid. Everything's so shiny and bright and beautiful and clean, and he feels good about himself that, everything is good. Our Ummah, is good. And at that point, that's when the last moment before the Ottoman Empire starts to dissolve and disintegrate or fall apart. So the last moment of glory for the Khalifa looking over Istanbul. Another piece, for example, the one in Fez. I attended in Fez the Sacred Music Festival. A beautiful, amazing festival. People from all over the world, traditions, Jews, Christians, Muslims, Sufis, they all week long. Songs and concerts, and it was an incredible get-together. So the whole city transforms into hundreds of little stages. Like every corner, there's a concert, there's a Sufi chant, there's this and that, and this happens every year. So for me, I capture that in this painting. I have an Egypt one, for example. It's in Tahrir Square. At the night before Hosni Mubarak stepped down. Everything is bright and glowing and millions of people. So that's my Sacred City series. Another series I have is called my Angel series, where, for me, angels have always fascinated me. So this is one of my earlier, I don't think I need this actually. This is one of my earlier paintings. So these are all profiles of angels, and I use this angel motif in a lot of different paintings. So imagine this is like they're looking at the side of an angel, and these are the angel's wings. Okay? So I've done a couple of these, and this big angel here, which I use in more than one painting, see I use it in that painting there, is the angel Jabril, because of all these are archangels, so all the detail, everything is angel Jabril. So this is Laylatul Qadr, right? Where you're looking in the horizon, pretend like you're, in some desert somewhere, and you look in the horizon, and there's millions and millions of these beautiful creatures coming down to Earth. Okay? Each one has a different purpose, a different function, and that's why they're all different. Because each angel that's been created is a beautiful, work of art by our Creator Ta'ala. And I try to capture the feeling of awe of Laylatul Qadr if you can see all these angels descending at the same time. So this is my angel series, and I have a couple of these that I work on. Another series that I do is just my regular passion series, which is like the more abstract type of art. Like, this piece here, that piece right over there, and one of my favorites is this piece here, this one, and they're all based like in a different ayah, okay? So there's Surah Zilzal, on that day, the earth will convey its news or its memories, right? So the idea here behind this painting is no matter how much we build up, and think we're great and build up our cities and civilization, and then, man, can conquer everything, there will come a point where everything will fall to dust, and then the earth will go back to its pristine form as it was created. On the day of judgment, or even before, who knows, maybe we'll just blow ourselves up in some nuclear holocaust, okay? But at the end, no matter how amazing or perfect that we think we are as human beings, there at the end there will be nothing left of us, and only Allah's, beauty and might. So this is based on an ayah. So I have a few all paintings are based on my interpretation of certain ayahs. This painting here, for example, is based on an ayah, خلق الإنسان ضلوعا إذا مسه الشر جزوعا وإذا مسه الخير منوعا. Okay, so what does that mean? The human being was created in a state of chaos. His mind is wandering, he doesn't know, so many different ideas, so many impulses, so many, just so many contradictions going on, pressure, stress, people can hardly keep sane. That's why we have so much depression right now, because so much going on that's so contradictory to each other. So the idea of us perching down a mountain with all these conflicting ideas, is something that makes us in a state of halak, state of confusion. So this black ribbon here, if bad was to happen to man, he's in a state of depression. Okay, so this black is that state of constant depression and blaming everybody and everything for their problems. And if we were to bless man, then he will try to hoard that blessing to himself. And that's depicted by this round gold and silver ball, right? Because he's hoarding it. This is the nature of mankind. This is how it was created. And that is sort of my interpretation again from that ayah. This other piece here, this piece is my interpretation of ascending to heaven. So say, it's loosely based on the prophet's ascension to heaven, but this is my interpretation how we can find ultimate peace in our life. So that one is about chaos, this one is about peace. So there's a scene in Finding Nemo, the animated cartoon, where Nemo is riding on the back of turtles in somewhere in Australia. There's this current that goes on for hundreds and hundreds of miles, and the turtles just submit to that current, and they ride it, right? Beautiful. For me, it was really, so what if that's our purpose in life? It's just to submit, and then we'll be engulfed by the peace of the Almighty, of our Creator. So imagine, ultimate submission. You're riding through the heavens on the back of an angel, and it's just you and your Creator. So nothing else will bother you. Nothing else will constrict you. Will be on your mind. Will worry you, because it's just ultimate peace, and that's what we strive, in this life and in the hereafter, of course. And I guess the final piece I can talk about is this one here. This is a little bit controversial. It reflects sort of my worldview about faith and religion and all that. So this is called Interfaith Conference. Okay, and a lot of people love to throw around the word interfaith as if, it's going to save us. So here you have three religions represented. So if you look closely, this guy here, part of the ideas and the vibes coming out from his head have the Arabic letters in them. So this is Islam. This dude over here has Latin letters. So this is Christianity. And this guy here has Hebrew letters. So that's Judaism. So in the middle, they're so tangled up. All of them are trying to own God and define God and use God as their little puppet to justify their actions, justify institutions, oppressions, wars. So God is caught up somewhere in this huge net that these institutional religions, have created. And the more they try to take ownership of God, the more there's confusion and hatred and so on. Okay? Whereas the God I believe in, the God I hope that created us, is something that's so far beyond all this petty, categorizations and bookkeeping and the loving, all-encompassing Creator of the universe. And that's for me why my own personal belief, Islam is not really we do it in this service when we call it a religion. It's actually a way of life. It's a beautiful way of life, full of mercy, full of love, full of compassion. And that, I think, when you say you're Muslim, For me, it's about following the example of our Prophet Muhammad. Okay, not this institution that was created and everyone is vying to control and to put put their guidelines according to their understanding and finding words about it. No, it's something more expansive and more beautiful than anyone could ever imagine. That's the God that I believe in. And the Prophet believed in through reflected through his lifestyle. But this is called Interfaith Conference. So I think that sums up the different forms of art I've been trying to create. So a lot of people ask me, well, did you take any classes? Do you have any type of school of art that you follow? Is there any influences that you think are more important to you than others? So my response to all of them is that I think, in my belief, the worst mistake you can do as an artist is to start taking classes and modeling your art after a certain school or a certain artist you admire on and on. Because art has to be something that comes from inside of you. It has to reflect your existence, your reality. And you may not think it's beautiful, but people who see it, if it's pure and it's very reflective of who you are, then that is, I think, for me, the essence of art. It's just this pristine beauty and reflection of who you are as an individual. Yes, I encourage people to take classes to learn some techniques. How do you mix different colors together? What kind of brushes to use? How do you, stretch the canvas? That's all fine and dandy, but don't get stuck in being, following a very specific, school of art, because then, even if you want to break out, you'll find that very difficult. You'll think that your art is not legitimate unless you follow this technique that's been handed down for hundreds of years, or this master, or that sheikh, or whatever. When you have all these people who are doing calligraphy schools, there's thousands of them, in Turkey, Dean Arts, whatever, and you're terrified if they put, slightly wrong angle for the dot or the ha, or the alif very wrong, or but they're so precise that they feel that their art or the calligraphic expression is worthless unless they follow precisely to the fraction how the sheikh taught them. Okay, so for me that is sort of destroying any originality and creativity in art. It has to be spontaneous. It has to be gushing and flowing out of your emotions, out of your real life experiences. So that's my one and only advice I give to new artists. Have faith and confidence in yourself and create your own art form. Whenever I go to an exhibit, some of these large, art exhibits, the ones that stick out are the ones that have tried totally to create their own type of art. We have a lot of people doing landscapes, a lot of people doing portraits. They all look exactly the same. But the person who's using a different medium in a new creative way, those are the ones that really shine the most. And I feel, as artists, try to be as uninhibited as possible in expressing yourself. Don't worry about people judging you. People are going to judge anything. They go to the Mona Lisa and they say, this is crap, I don't know why people like it. So don't let people's opinions and judgment of your art be an influence on whether to continue or what direction to go in, and so on and so forth. And the final thing about art is people ask me to do this professionally and so on. No, it's impossible to. Maybe 1 out of 1,000 can make a living professionally being artists, right? So you do it more as a passion for yourself, it's your day job, but this is an outlet for all the pressures and stresses that accumulate, in life. For me, it's always a go-to. I go, pick up the brush, or pick up a canvas and start painting, and then immediately it centers me in the here and now, and it's a big relief, it's a big way of sort of unwinding in this horrifically complex world that we live in. Now, those who do decide to go and take, try to do it professionally. I think you had Sister Nadia Janjawar here a couple months ago. She was a huge influence on me. But one thing I see is when you try to do professionally, they end up compromising their art. Okay, there's a piece that people really like, say this piece. So you end up making more and more pieces, variations of this piece. Or this pieces, of course, take a long time to make because they're huge. They might take me 3-4 months. And the sale price is going to be like, $2,000, $3,000. Not everyone can afford that. Not everyone wants to buy print. People like buying originals. Like these here are originals, but a little bit less. But then you start, but still it's too expensive for people. So you start making prints, and then you make cheaper prints. And then you start making smaller pieces. And that's sort of when it's like total compromise. So instead of making these big, magnificent pieces, you end up making these little tiny pieces that can sell them for $100 to $200 each that people can afford. So that's another sort of downside of people who want to make a living doing their art, but ultimately they can't because their art itself, made it beautiful, is starting to be compromised in order to be more accessible to the buyer of that art. Okay, so that is about my art. Now I want to talk about a project that.
There's been a request that you use the microphone here in the back.
All right, very good. So now I'd like to talk about the art I do now. I used to do like 3 or 4 pieces a year. Now I'm lucky if I get 1 piece going. So it's really like it's an up and down. If you're in the mood, if you're in the groove, you do these pieces one after another, and it's never 1 piece you work at the same time. You're usually working 3 or 4 pieces. You get bored of one, you go to the other, and so on. Lately, I've probably done just 1 piece a year, which is really horrible of me. But I have been busy with something else called the Hamzanama Comic Contest. So this is something that myself and members of my family put together. And first let me talk about the Hamzanama. So those who are of South Asian origin may have heard about the Hamzanama or the stories of Amir Hamza. These were very, very popular folk tales told in the 14th, 15th, 16th century all over India, South Asia, which is Pakistan, Bangladesh, Central Asia, even as far west as Indonesia. They're about this larger-than-life character named Amir Hamza. So this dude, this guy who is the hero of all these stories, is loosely based on the Prophet's uncle, of course, Hamza ibn Abdul Muttalib, alayhi salam. But his reputation grew. So he's fighting demons, he's crushing, evil and converting millions of people to Islam. Very popular stories. So when Emperor Akbar, Emperor of the Mughal Empire, I'm pretty sure you all have heard his name in some context. So when he became the Emperor of the Mughal Empire around 1560, I believe, he was so enamored with all these stories, so he had his court, and the people working for him, gather all these hundreds and hundreds of stories and start transcribing them in these big, huge, beautiful manuscripts called the Hamzanama. So in the Hamzanama, each page is 1 huge page, and on the bottom, like a drawing, 1 huge drawing, and on the bottom there will be some text. So arguably that's very similar to what we call today comic books, because the comic books, what they do is they have 1 big drawing or a couple of big drawings with a little bit of text underneath. So arguably, like 500 years ago, this Hamzanama that was made was like a comic book because people were illiterate there, so they relied on looking at the pictures. Now, people are reading less and less. Comics are, a good medium to communicate with. Again, emphasis on picture, less so on words. So there's Hamzanama and the comics. So a few years ago, our son Hamza passed away. He was a very big comic illustrator. He would love to have his own comic strip. He would publish all of his comics and self-publish in a book. So he really loves comics. He loved writing comics and drawing comics. So when he passed away, we tried to think what is the best way to do something important for the world and also to memorialize what Hamza, memorialize him, remember him, but in his name also do something that is giving back to the world. So we decided to create the Hamza Nama comic contest. So the connection is comics, connected to the original Hamza Nama. The name Hamza, of course, Hamza and Amir Hamza, and so on. So we created this comic contest, and the idea is to create new stories that feature Amir Hamza as a hero. Just like in the old days, create new stories and publish them every year as a continuation to the collection that Emperor Akbar started out in the 1500s. So 500 years later, we decided to have a contest to crowdsource these stories. People from all over the world send us these stories. We choose the 10 best stories, and then we publish them as a volume of the Hamza Nama. And we give cash prizes. So the first prize is like $5,000, and $2,000, and $1,000, and so on. So alhamdulillah, this is the second year we do this contest. And we've received really amazing, submissions from all over the world. South America, Central America, Africa, Asia, South Asia. These people aren't even Muslim, but they're writing these stories. They feature Amir Hamza as a hero, doing good stuff and helping the world. And we also, if you go to our website, we introduced a lot of the heroes and villains of the original Hamza Nama. So it's not just Amir Hamza. He had the jinn named Ammar Ayar, which was his sidekick. He had a princess that was also helping him out. He had certain villains that he would always confront. So we brought all these characters on the website, introduced them, and then people are free to create whatever stories they want using the same characters. They can set the stories in any time zone, any time, future, past, contemporary. They can, Amir Hamza can take any form. He has a special stone called the Meccan stone, which he uses to go back and forth through time. So alhamdulillah, the goal of uniting people from all over the world for the purpose of sharing art and understanding one another's beliefs and value systems and creating something beautiful that connects us to the past. Alhamdulillah, it's growing, and we have great aspirations, inshallah, for the contest. So when we give the people, to describe what I have here, these are the origin stories. Me and my son Zaki wrote the origin stories. So the first one is for Amir Hamza, and the second origin story is for Princess Zun. There was a princess, but we named her Zun, because my granddaughter's name is Zun. But so these we publish online. Whoever wants to participate can read the origin stories to get an idea what sort of the powers are, what are the villains, and what is Amir Hamza's sort of character like. And then from then they could create their own stories. So if you go to our website, you'll see all the origin stories, you'll see past stories, you'll see information about the classic Hamza Nama, and so on. So I encourage you to check that out. And if you know anyone who's into comic illustration or writing, people can enter in as teams. So one person can be the comic illustrator, another person can be the writer, another person can be the colorist, another person can be the letterist. And there's a lot of specialization in comics. Or one person can do the whole thing themselves. So I encourage people to check out the Hamza Nama comic contest. So that's the third item I want to talk about today. The fourth item, I was talking to Brother Saeed the other day, and so he's very encouraging to start all these clubs at Adams, and I think they're moving to a club format, which I think is very inclusive of people and their different, needs and interests. So I want to gauge. We want to gauge the interest of people starting sort of a fine arts club here in Adams. To encourage stuff like painting and drawing, in addition to eventually there's enough interest and creation of music, maybe creation of theater, script writing, playwriting, television production. So I don't know if they have one for. Do they have one for like video club or video production at Adams? So something to go get people who are artistically inclined to come and do it. And for years I've been looking at Adams, and I spoke to Lyle about this when he was here. There's so much blank empty walls. you have like so much art being turned out nowadays in schools and stuff. I mean, at least every month or two, just have a rotating exhibit. Have all the art produced by young people. Have an artist instead of this is excellent beginning of doing it in Qahwa, but you have so much art space out there. And so have artists fill those out. Let people be inspired. People look. We're coming to Adams. There's high culture. There's everything in Adams for us here. So my thing is I want just to gauge the interest of people out there who are interested in doing something like this. Let's all get together and start talking and put something together, inshallah. And that concludes what I have come to say. So, anyone has any questions, I'd love to answer them. Yes.
Have you ever thought about creating maybe a poetry chapbook explaining interpretations of the pieces and what inspired you, or maybe doing a gallery book and you have a picture of the piece and then your explanation of it, that way readers could kind of see your thought process.
So, in fact, each piece I do, I spent a long time writing the description for it. So if you look at every piece that I have ever created, so all my website also, these are free by the way over here. This is for donation. I write a very